As the final season of Lois and Clark wound down, Teri Hatcher was one of Hollywood's brightest young stars. In addition to the hit TV show, she'd recently appeared opposite Pierce Brosnan in the James Bond film Tomorrow Never Dies. Unbeknownst to moviegoers, she was 4 months pregnant at the time of filming, and on November 10th, 1997, Teri Hatcher and her husband, John Tenney, had a baby girl they named Emerson Rose. Like most new mothers, having a child was to bring major changes.
So she decides to leave LA and move to New York. She decides she wants a brand new life for her child, somewhere she can raise a family and not have to be in a car all day.
In January of 1998, Teri and her husband loaded their new baby into the car and headed east. The plan was to take their time and see the country as they headed for their new life in New York.
She was feeling free of not having to deal with being glamorous and being in Hollywood and the paparazzi, and she was feeling more like a human being again, or as she says, a real American. Yet, the entire time that they're traveling, she and her are fighting, and by the end of the day, they're exhausted.
And it got worse when they finally arrived at their new apartment.
After 21 days on the road, Teri is really looking forward to just starting her life anew in New York in this gorgeous apartment, but she gets there and it's filthy. And it's not even close to what she was expecting.
Teri spent the first year in New York taking care of Emerson Rose and getting her bearings in her new city. Now looking for a new challenge, Teri auditioned for the role of Sally Bowles in Sam Mendes's traveling revival of Cabaret. With no theater experience, very little voice training, and a growing case of insecurity about leaving California, the audition was a big risk for Teri.
She had everything to lose and nothing to gain, really, so you got to take your hat off to that.
You know, people knew who she was, and she was a star, and, you know, when you have that going, it's easy to say, no, I'm not going to take any risks at all.
She got the part. The producers wanted someone who wasn't a traditional Broadway belter, but who had some star power and could pull off the demanding role.
She walked into the first day of rehearsal with never having sung before, in a professional way, certainly ever on stage in front of people, which is a whole different thing than singing in the shower.
Going from doing TV or film to doing theater is that it's sort of like going from painting in oils to painting in watercolor. They're different mediums. They're actually very different art forms. And there's a different way of performing on stage than there is for TV or film.
With Emerson and a nanny in tow, Teri headed back to LA for the show opener at the Wilshire Theater on February 23rd. The early reviews weren't very favorable. Neither Variety or The Times had much good to say about her performance.
There's always the theater snobs that are going to say, oh, what does Teri Hatcher, how could she possibly be any good in Cabaret? She's a TV person.
Audiences, however, loved her.
She was brave and bold, and that character needed her to be brave and bold, and she did it.
Teri Hatcher has always been looking for ways to challenge herself. Maybe I won't succeed, maybe I won't like it, but let me stretch myself and try something new. And that's, I think, what led to her taking that stage role.
And as for the initial negativity from the critics, Teri found a way to work through it.
Now, she needed to find a way to not be defeated. So somebody gave her the idea of writing F them on toes, and she did. But it gave her strength somehow throughout the entire run of Cabaret.
And she eventually managed to win many of the critics over. By the end of the LA run, the Daily News said Hatcher commands your attention when on stage.
Most of the reviews for Cabaret praised her and praised her vocal ability, praised her ability to portray this particular character, kind of a second-rate actress without being the second-rate actress herself.
The tour lasted 7 months and hit LA, Boston, Chicago, and Washington, D.C. At the end of the Cabaret run, Teri returned to New York, feeling good about the experience.
It was new, shaky ground. It was exploring new aspects of who she is as an artist, who she is as a person.
Back in New York, Teri decided to take a little break from acting, but she did get one that kept her in the public eye. A series of popular Radio Shack commercials with NFL star Howie Long.
One of the reasons they were so popular is Teri is a sort of every woman. You know, she just has that girl next door quality. She wears a t-shirt and jeans and she just seems relatable and friendly and she has this bubbly personality.
Those radio shows made her a ton of money, enough to support the family for an entire year.
But the cheerful...
At this point, Teri's feeling very conflicted. She doesn't want to be married anymore, but she also doesn't want to be divorced. She doesn't want to do this to her daughter Emerson, and once again, because that's where the work is.
But LA wasn't exactly waiting for her.
Hollywood has these sort of certain standards of beauty, you know, the idea of to be a successful actress, you have to be between the ages of, say, 18 and like 27. And after that, you know, they put you out to pasture, you're done.
And when Teri got back to LA, she would find out just how much of a long shot reviving her career would be.